Hello everyone, I am a 2D artist and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a simple panel for a webcomic. First step of making a panel for a webcomic is to simply create a rough sketch of the panel using pencil and paper. It really doesn't have to look clean, but remember that you have to understand what's going on in the panel in order to transfer it to a digital medium. You could make the sketch in Photoshop or whatever software you use, but I think using pencil is faster. The next thing you should do is start tracing over the sketch in digital, making sure that all your lines are clean. A good tip is to try to make each line in one long stroke, instead of a bunch of smaller ones. As you can probably tell from the video, I also like to use the pen tool to make longer or more oddly shaped paths, then stroke said path. This creates a clean line and it usually doesn't require much retouching. I also like to flip the canvas often to check for any mistakes I might have made in the original sketch. Also, this is a personal preference, but I do recommend using a variable width in your brush since it creates more dynamic lines and it just kind of looks nicer in my opinion. But that's up to you and it depends on what sort of vibe you want your webcomic to have. Once you are done with the line art, create several new layers for each major part of the character, like the face, the arms, the hair, the vest, the neck, etc. This is to be able to lock the transparent pixels of that layer later on. Color in each part of the character using a base color. A good tip is to make sure that the base color is a mid-tone, since that way you can add shadows and highlights more easily. I also recommend that in this step of the process, you make sure to name every layer to something simple. This way you can easily go between the different layers. That way, if you want to find the face layer, then it's just called face. If you want to find the hair, well, it's just called hair. You know, it's pretty easy and quick. Next, start adding the shadows to the character. Since this is for webcomic, I'll be using simple one color shading with hard edges, as this is very easy to work with. A good tip to creating a good shadow color is to not only darken the base color, but to also shift the hue slightly, either closer to red or closer to blue, depending on the situation and environment. I almost always shift it to red for skin tones, since it helps make the character feel alive. I might make a video discussing cartoon shading at a later date, so subscribe and leave a comment if you want to see that. Anyway, make sure the lighting and shading makes sense by deciding on the direction and location of the light source. Lighting can be a whole video all on its own, so I won't discuss it in length here. Just know that consistent lighting helps make sure that the entire scene is cohesive. After that, I usually make the speech bubble or the background. In this case, I started with the speech bubble. I just made a circular path, stroked it, then added the tail of the bubble, pointing at the character. I also added the text using the font Comic New, which is an improved version of Comic Sans. Now, what I'm making isn't a normal webcomic, but is instead a new style made popular in Miiverse, where you use a screenshot of a scene or dialogue from a video game as the setup, and the drawn panel as the punchline. I added the screenshot and positioned it on the canvas. Lastly, I drew the frame and background of the comic panel. Usually you'd want a more interesting background, but I was already spending too much time on this small project, so I just made a simple starry night sky with some basic snow particles. I added the glasses to the character, made some color corrections, and just like that, the comic is finished. Hopefully, you all found this video helpful, or at least entertaining. Make sure to subscribe and give this video a like, it really helps out the channel. Also, leave a comment if you'd like to see more content like this. Make sure to follow me on my socials, and I will see you all in the next video.